This is a golf ball review a lot of you have requested. Today I'm putting the Titleist Pro V1 up against the Titleist AVX. Now it's taken me a while to actually review this golf ball because I'm not really sure who it's designed for. The Pro V1 and the Pro V1X are designed for people with higher swing speeds who value performance. And while the AVX is part of the Pro V1 family, its compression rating suggests that it's designed for slower swing speeds. There is a lot to unpack in this video. The Titleist AVX is a very intriguing golf ball, but by the end of this video, we will know whether it's the golf ball for you or not. Let's get into it. Now, before we hit any golf balls, what do Titleist actually say about the differences between the Pro V1 and the AVX? If we use the comparison tool on the Titleist website, it's clear to see that the AVX is designed to fly a long way. Whenever you see that the spin is low with a driver or an iron, the golf ball is designed to be a distance ball. The Pro V1 is the most versatile golf ball in the Titleist range. It's great off the tee, but not the longest. It's great with irons, again, but not the longest. And its green side control is as good as any golf ball in the Titleist range. Whereas the AVX seems to be more designed for low spin. Lower spin even around the green compared to the Pro V1 at least. One of the biggest differences you'll notice before you even hit a golf ball though is the dimple pattern. The Pro V1's dimple pattern is exactly what you'd expect. It's a circular sort of scoop taken out of the cover. Whereas if you look at the AVX golf ball, the dimple pattern is more of a circular stamp. The dimple pattern is a lot flatter than it is with the Pro V1. Now Titleist say that this dimple pattern produces a lower ball flight. Now that'll be interesting to see if that actually is true when I take both of these golf balls out onto the golf course later on in the video. But before we do that, let's do a classic TK Golf simulator test. Let's see what numbers these two golf balls are producing. If you've seen my golf ball tests in the past, you know I like to be very thorough with these tests. I hit 4 different clubs ranging from a lob wedge all the way up to a driver. I hit 20 shots per club per golf ball. I use club head speed as a controlling factor, and I picked the best 15 strikes from those 20 shots to ensure that I'm giving you guys reliable data. So all in all, I'm gonna hit 160 shots for this test. Now don't worry, I'm not gonna show you every single shot. Here's a little montage starting with the lob wedge. Right then, let's have a look at these test results, starting with the lob wedge. Like I said earlier, I've got a controlling factor for all of my tests, and for this test, it was club head speed. For the lob wedge, I had an average club head speed of 50 miles an hour with both golf balls. On screen now are all of the results. So for the simulator test, I was looking at carry, ball speed, and spin. I was purely looking at performance. And as you can see here, the AVX was carrying a little bit further, had a little bit more ball speed, but was spinning a little bit less. Now that sort of lines up with what Titleist are saying on their website. Even Titleist admit that the AVX is going to spin a little bit less than the Pro V1 around the green. And these test results suggest exactly that. Now indoors, I did notice that the ball flight with the AVX was just a little bit lower, but I figured I'd wait until we're out on the golf course to show you the trajectory difference between these two golf balls. Now with a 50-yard pitch shot, we're hoping to stop the ball fairly quickly, but with the AVX flying a little bit lower and spinning a little bit less, I'm not sure it's going to stop as quick as the Pro V1. Let's move on to the pitch and wedge results. For the pitch and wedge, I had an average club head speed of 77 miles an hour for this test. That's pretty much a full swing for me with the pitch and wedge. On screen now are all of the results. Now there's a bit more of a difference between the two balls with the pitch and wedge. We've got an increase in carry for the AVX, lower ball speed, but much lower spin numbers. The AVX is basically spinning 1,000 less than the Pro V1, which explains why it's flying further with less ball speed. Now, considering that we're giving up quite a lot of control because the spin is so much less, the carry isn't that much more than the Pro V1. You can argue that maybe I wasn't striking it as well as the Pro V1, but I was literally hitting 5 balls with the Pro V1, 5 balls with the AVX, 5 balls with the Pro V1, 5 balls with the AVX. You'd think that if I was hitting the golf ball bad today, that it would actually show up in the results of both golf balls. So yeah, a little disappointed with those results for the AVX. Again, if we're seeing lower trajectory and lower spin, how is the golf ball going to stop on the green? So far with the wedges, the AVX isn't all that. Let's have a look at the 7-iron. Now, it's clear that this golf ball is designed for the long game, so I'm expecting to see some pretty good results with the 7-iron and the driver. For the 7-iron, I had an average club head speed of 87 miles an hour, which again is a full swing for me. On screen now are all of the results. Now again, we've got some pretty interesting numbers. I'm going to start off with the spin numbers because they are basically exactly the same. So the increased carry that we've got with the AVX is coming purely from ball speed. But that slight jump in ball speed has yielded a 2-yard increase in carry, which is a huge amount considering these golf balls are fairly similar outside of the carry numbers. Now, Titleist say that the inside of the AVX has had a revamp in 2024. The core is more designed towards ball speed. So it does make sense that we're seeing more ball speed with the AVX and therefore more carry. And if we've got a similar spin number to the Pro V1, then the stopping power is going to be very, very similar. It will be interesting to see what the trajectory is like outdoors when we get onto the course in a bit. But finally, with the 7-iron, the AVX is starting to come into its own. Let's have a look at the driver. For the driver, the average club head speed was 100 miles an hour. This isn't quite full tilt, but it's a speed that I can easily replicate, which is obviously important for this test. Now, you can't claim that a golf ball is built for long game unless it's good with the driver. Let's see how these balls are performing with the big stick. As you can see, the AVX has fully come into its own. We've got 4 extra yards of carry, we've got basically 2 mile an hour extra ball speed, and we've got about 200 less spin. If the AVX does actually have a lower trajectory, then we're going to see this golf ball bounding down summer fairways, and it will go a hell of a lot longer than the Pro V1. Now, subscribers of the channel will know that I use the FlightScope Mevo Plus for all of my testing, and as good as the FlightScope Mevo Plus is, it's only seeing about 13 to 14 feet of ball flight. So the simulator is going to find it very difficult to pick up the aerodynamics of the golf ball. We are going to have to head outside to really put these trajectory claims to the test. But for now, the indoor results are as you'd expect with the AVX. It's great with an iron, great with a driver, and probably lacking a little bit with the wedges. But again, this golf ball is designed for distance. If you want a golf ball with more spin, get the Pro V1 or the Pro V1X. With all that in mind though, let's have a look at what these golf balls do out on the golf course. The first thing I did when I got to the golf club was head straight to the academy area. The academy area at Spalding Golf Club has a chipping green, it has an outdoor range, and it has a short par 3 course. So this is the perfect area to see what these golf balls are like around the green. I started off on the chipping green. The goal here was to get a gauge of how these golf balls felt with a wedge in hand, but also to see what kind of control we were getting, what kind of spin were we getting with these short chip shots. I hit 3 shots with the Pro V1 to start with, and in my hand I've got a lob wedge and I've got about a 10-yard chip in front of me. So we're not expecting to see a huge amount of spin with these shots. I've played a lot with the Pro V1 over the years and I can really predict how much this ball is going to roll out. After hitting 3 with the Pro V1, I've hit 3 with the AVX. Now this isn't the best camera angle. I probably should have had a wider view for you, but you can kind of see what's happening. The Pro V1 seemed to have a little bit of extra grab with its first and second bounce, whereas the AVX seems to be rolling out that little bit more. Don't get me wrong, it's not a huge difference, but we've only got a 10-yard chip in front of us here. But as you can see with these chips, the AVX was rolling out just that little bit more than the Pro V1. And I think that's purely down to those first couple of bounces grabbing just a little bit more with the Pro V1. Next up, I moved on to a pitch shot. Now this pitch shot was about 40 yards away, so I'm hoping to see a little bit more grab, especially on those first couple of bounces. Just like with the chip in, I hit 3 shots with the Pro V1, followed by 3 shots with the AVX. As you can see, I'm not a pro, I'm not going to hit these extremely close to the flag, but that's what these golf ball tests are about. I'm an average golfer giving honest reviews. Now the results that we were seeing indoors seem to be translating outdoors. Not only has the Pro V1 got a little bit more spin and therefore stopping a little bit quicker than the AVX, but the trajectory of the AVX is actually lower even with these 40-yard shots. With this pitch shot, you can actually see that the AVX is trying to stop, trying to grab with that first bounce, but just not quite grabbing as much as the Pro V1. I've done this kind of test with a lot of golf balls, and the AVX isn't performing badly at all. At the end of the day, we're putting it up against the Pro V1, which is supposed to be the gold standard with these types of shots. And let's be honest, Titleist designed the AVX to be a long-hitting golf ball, so it's not exactly going to thrive around the green. But if you're buying the AVX for its long game capabilities, you're not actually compromising a huge amount around the green. This golf ball isn't performing badly. I actually think the AVX is performing better outdoors so far than it did indoors. And it is interesting to see that the trajectory, even with this type of shot, is lower than the Pro V1. Let's hit some fuller shots and see what the trajectory is like with a longer wedge in hand and an iron. So for this trajectory test, I started off with a 50-degree wedge. I got a 115-yard shot in front of me, so it's a full swing with the 50-degree wedge. And this time I started with the AVX instead of the Pro V1. No reason, just wanted to hit the AVX first. With those first 3 shots with the AVX, the golf ball is just creeping to the top of the screen trajectory-wise. And as you can see with the Pro V1, these shots were all creeping above the screen. Again, not very good camera angle. Should have realized that these golf balls were going to fly above the viewing area. But thankfully, we can actually see the difference in trajectory between these 2 golf balls. All 3 of the AVX ball flights were lower than the Pro V1. Next up, I moved on to an 8-iron, and I've got a 160-yard shot in front of me. And the story continues. I started with the AVX, and all 3 ball flights with the AVX were lower than the Pro V1, apart from 1 bad strike. But it's a very interesting test. The aerodynamics of the dimple pattern on the AVX is producing a lower ball flight. Now, I did take these golf balls out onto the course to check the trajectory with a driver, but the sun's out and I went to the course after work and it was absolutely chock-a-block. I thought it'd be pretty rude if I set up a camera on the tee box while playing with other golfers. But the trajectory was definitely lower with the driver, and because the fairways are a little bit firmer because of the weather that we've had, I was getting a lot of rollout with the AVX. I hit a couple of really long drives today. So we've tested the golf ball indoors and we've tested the golf ball outdoors. We should have all the information we need to figure out who this golf ball is designed for. So, who's this golf ball designed for? I'll start off with who it's not designed for. If you're a low handicap golfer with a higher swing speed and you value spin around the green, the AVX is definitely not the ball for you. It's going to be a little bit too soft for you and you're not going to have the control that you want even with an iron in hand. But if you're a golfer of any standard, any handicap, and you produce a little bit too much spin with a driver, for example, this golf ball is really worth considering. When I'm not playing great, I always produce high spin with a driver. Sometimes I produce too much loft at impact and I'm not really hitting up on the golf ball enough. When I'm in those sort of patches with my game, this AVX golf ball could be a real game changer for me. That little less spin off the tee is going to help me maintain my distance. My only concern would be the lower control that I have around the greens. But like I said in the video, it's not a massive compromise to make. If you need more distance off the tee and you need more distance with your irons, the lower spin around the greens isn't that much of a problem. I guess it's all about what you prioritize as a golfer. So if you're a golfer with a driver swing speed of say 90 to 100 miles an hour and you need more distance off the tee, the AVX could be the golf ball for you. It's a premium build and a nice soft feeling golf ball. And let's not forget, it's made by the best golf ball manufacturer in the world. Guys, thank you so much for watching this whole video. If you're still here and you're not yet subscribed, smash that subscribe button. I put videos out every week designed to help mid-handicap golfers learn more about the game so that they can get better. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you next week for another video.